to you. And I think he's awesome. You know why I think he's awesome?
Why?
Because she's my son.
Aww.
He is in the field of technology, and I think he brought a few little hands-on things today to share with you. So again, no, that is my real son.
You said you only got all the daughters.
No, I never said that. I have 2 daughters, 2 sons.
How old is? That's not a 20-something.
Do we ask people how old they are?
If you,
Oh, you can ask a man, you don't ask a woman.
Yeah.
Well, you can ask him. We'll see if he answers.
He looks
But I hope he'll share with you a little bit about, himself. I was trying to get in there and ask Representative Thompson to do that, but we ran out of time. I was hoping somebody would ask her because she's been a teacher, a professor, a legislator, and now she's thinking about running for the Senate. So she will have had 4 careers, and she's very young, so she probably can get a little bit more. So be thinking about the fact that what I go to school for may not be all the things that I wind up doing in my lifetime. So without taking any more time from Mr. Terance Light, I present to you our technology presenter, Mr. Terance Light.
I actually phrased it as communications because technology, well, no problem. Technology can really span the board. So I like to do communications because that's really what I do. So my name is Terance Light. I am her youngest son, and I am 33 years young. If you ask somebody how old they are, you make them seem like they're getting up in age. How young are you? That's what I'm saying. So I'm 33 years young. I'm originally from Michigan. I moved to Orlando back in 2003. Before I moved to Orlando, I was living in Columbus, Ohio. Before I was living in Columbus, Ohio, I was living in Michigan. So that's a little bit about who I am and where I'm from. I'm going to try to cover the points that they asked us to cover. But when I cover those points, that's when I'm going to need interaction from you all so we can make this go hands-on, okay? All right. So what I do is communications, and for the most part, I deal with telephone systems. And I drew a couple of examples on the board because I want to give you an idea of what I do that's different from what you're used to seeing, which is probably a cell phone or a home phone. I don't do too much with home phones or cell phones. I can, but I'm mostly in what we call commercial. I'm in the commercial market, not the residential market. So when you're at home and you pick up the phone, you have a one-way conversation or a two-way conversation, if you will, with somebody on the other end of that phone. Now, if you're at home and you pick up the phone, and let's say you have 2 phones in your house and somebody else picks up the phone, what happens? You hear the same conversation. But what's different from what I do in the commercial business is if there's somebody on the phone in an office and somebody else goes to pick up another phone, you think they can hear that conversation? No, because they're separate phones. All right? So that's what I do. I do commercial business, and we do companies like Disney, General Motors, Universal. We install their telephone system or their enterprise communications. So I'm going to ask you all a question. I want everybody's participation, all right? So when you think of communications, what do you think of? Those are things out. Yes, sir.
interaction with others.
Interaction with others, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Talking.
Okay. Okay. You got your hand up. Oh. Conversation is. You're going to say conversation? Okay, what are you going to say, young lady?
No. Texting.
Texting. So conversation.
A video.
Video?
A video about working.
Networking? I like it. All right, give me 2 more. Somebody different than you. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
Oh, what's the thing that you call when you use the fax?
The fax machine? Great. 1 more. Yes, sir. Skype. Spell Skype.
S S-K-Y-P-E.
S-K-Y-P-E. All right, so the nature of my business. Believe it or not, we do all of these things in my business. And all of these things are things you can actually do at home, but we take it to a bigger scale in a corporation or a what we call commercial side. So just to have a couple things, the interaction and talking. So these are our base phones of what we install. And just so you know, when I started at the company I work for, it's called Cross Telecommunications, that's the name of it. It's based out of Bloomington, Minnesota, but we actually have an office here in Orlando. When I started at Cross, what I used to do was I would travel the continental U.S., and I would go around to companies like Disney, to General Motors, and I would install telephone systems. So if Disney had 500 employees at a particular office, I would have to go around and set up 500 telephones, and I would have to make each telephone work. Now this particular phone is what they call an analog phone. And this phone can actually work at your house, if you will, because it's analog. It's just a single line of communication that goes into this phone. All right? Then we evolved into what they call digital or IP. Does anybody know what IP means? What does IM mean? What's the letters mean? Instant messaging. So IP stands for Internet Protocol. So anytime you're doing something on the phone or a computer, you're using an Internet Protocol. And what that Internet Protocol is a way to stream information to a device, whether that be your cell phone, whether it be a computer, or whether it be a telephone. This is, and I wish I had power to it, but this is an IP telephone. And if I have power to it, this screen will come up, and I can actually, it's a touch screen, I can actually touch in a number, I can use the dial pad. It's a touch screen. So these are telephones that I used to install. So when we're talking about this baseline communication, interaction, or talking, most people have this form of communication, whether it's this at home or this and this in the business. Okay? Next thing we have is texting. Texting, video, networking, fax, Skype. And that's where this guy comes from. So who's familiar with the iPad? This is so an iPad, to go back to what we talked about originally, an iPad is what we call residential use. So an iPad, you can only have communication with one person at a time. But when you go to the commercial side, we have this device. This is a new device. It's called Flare. Flare. F-L-A-R-E. This device, I can actually do everything that you mentioned here from this device. And as soon as it comes up, and I can actually put one more thing up here. I draw it and say it.
Facebook.
Email. Or Facebook, yeah, I guess. So with this device, I can do all these things from this one device. Let me unlock it here. All right. So you see along the side here, there's what they call it's called a fan, because it actually moves like a fan. See it going up and down. And on this side, I have. It's actually not mine. I don't particularly want one. It's too much communication for me. And on this side, I have all my contacts. Hopefully. People that we work with. So you see how it fans? So with this device, if I wanted to, I can actually pull up the email. There goes my email. And if I needed to, I can actually pull up that email. Just trying to register because it found an internet. So I can pull up an email, I can view that email. If I needed to, I can reply to the email. I also have video on this phone that is a little black dot at the top, and I can't pull it up just because I don't have an internet connection right now. But if I were to pull up an internet connection, I can actually pull up a telephone number and actually call a person. I can have a video conversation with that person from this device. That's what this device does. All right? Yes, ma'am. On the back, it has a little stand, so if you want to, you can set it under this, and then you can type it. It actually has another stand. You can actually set it up like that, but I didn't bring it just because it was too much to bring. And it actually has another little, I don't think it has it here, but it has a little handset, so if you actually want to actually pick up the handset and talk, you can do that with this as well. But I just brought the baseline. With this, you can have a conversation. You don't actually need the handset to have a conversation. So those are all forms of communication that I do on my job on a day-to-day basis. I don't do these anymore. I've evolved up in the company, or moved up in the company, where I actually have to go out and install them. But that's what we do every day. Is we go out and we make these devices talk in a corporate environment. All right. So we actually call it enterprise communication now, because it's taking all of these different forms of communication into one big circle and having many forms of communication, not just one form of communication, but many forms of communication, which we call enterprise communication. All right? So let's address some of these questions that they asked us to talk about. All right. So the nature of my business, what is it that I do? Yes, ma'am.
You work with the ways to communicate.
Actually, I'm gonna ask one request of you all. And you probably won't get it off. Now I'm gonna ask you all to use your outside voice. All right. Fair enough?
Okay.
I can do that. All right.
Use ways to communicate.
Ways to communicate?
Yes.
Okay, give me two more things. Different. I need different people. I need everybody. What's this gentleman's name right here? Joseph. What is it that I do? What's the nature of my business? All right, you're going to provide my last one. I need time to think about it. Outside voice. What'd you say again? I install. Yeah. All right, Joseph, you ready? Oh, come on, Joseph. I was waiting on you.
I got this song.
Is it Cora? Cora. Cora, I'm sorry. Cora, what is it that I do?
Oh, why are you raising your hand?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not raising my hand.
You make phones or iPads or anything that got connections, like stuff on. You make it work in like different rooms or different
So how can we
places.
put that into a word? I make electrical wire. No, I won't say I won't. Let's say we'll connect different devices. Okay?
Connect.
Different devices.
All right, so actually all those are everything that I do, or my business does. So let's talk about those. Oh, when we get to that, you be the first one I do. So the nature of my business. We do all these things. We go to, or a business like Disney will come to us and say, hey, I have a need. For example, I'm going to give you an example of what Disney came to us, and we had to actually find a way to make it happen. So Disney has a cruise ship. And they had a cruise ship that couldn't go out because the ship wasn't ready. So they came to our company and said, we want to inform every person that's registered to go on this cruise that the cruise ship is not going to go out on February 19th like it's supposed to. So they came to our company and they asked us to find a way to alert all the people that's on this cruise ship, 500 plus people, that they weren't going to be able to go out. Give me some suggestions of what we could do to solve that business need. Yes, ma'am.
You could make like kind of like a voice message, and once you make that message saying that they won't be able to have the ship ready or the cruise ship ready by the way you send it out to all the numbers.
That's exactly what we did. It's called an interactive voice response system. And what we did was just what she said. We created a message. They had somebody there, somebody in this recorded this message. And every person that registered to go on the cruise ship, we had their telephone number in a database or in the central point of access. created a message, and we actually have a device. I wish I would have brought one. It's almost like a computer, like a tower computer. And what we did is we ported that message, we sent it to the computer. The computer then called every person that's registered on that cruise ship and informed them the cruise ship is not going to be ready to sail on February 19th, but it will be ready on February 25th. And that's what we did in a way of communicating or solving a business need for somebody like Disney Cruise Lines. Yes, sir.
What is spinning into the phones?
Great question. What else do we do? Yes, ma'am. Huh? We can send an email. Joseph. Say it one more time. Mail like a regular mail, like a mail carrier. A letter. They could do that. But we're talking about enterprise communication. So no, you're right. That's not wrong, Joseph. You're right. I want you to work on the enterprise communication. But thank you for your answer. Yes, sir. Commercials is a way. We can text. And everything that you all are saying are all the things that we can do with the IVR. Yes, ma'am.
And you can fax it.
We can fax it. And all those things with the IVR, interaction voice response system, we can have all that happen with all these forms of communication. That's under the ways to communicate. So I'm going to touch on all these. These are all things that you all said, so I'm going to touch on the things that you all think about. So as we start to go down, think about what you want me to talk about, okay? So installing. Give me some, let me think of how we can actually talk about this. Give me some forms of installs that you think I do.
You can install phones like that into walls.
Right? Yes, ma'am.
Install stuff on the computer.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Install on the computer. Actually, I'm glad y'all said that because I forgot to show you things on something. So this is my iPhone. This is my work phone. And we actually have an application that allows me to use my cell phone as my desk phone. So what we do, to go back to
Kalea.
Kalea, I like that.
Thank you.
So we actually go around sometimes and we have to install applications on, and it's called an application or a piece of software on computers. We can install it on an iPhone or an Android, whatever. So the iPhone is called a smart device. Anybody know why it's called a smart device? Yes, sir.
Because it has a lot of apps and it can like if you want to go on Google, you can go on it, but you get that app.
Okay.
It acts as a computer.
I like that. But you're correct. It has many forms of communication in one device. So this particular application is called 1X Mobile. And I can actually, with this, I can call my mom's cell phone and make my work phone actually show up. I can actually make, the number that appears on her cell phone will be my work number from this application. It won't be my cell phone number, it'll be my work phone number. So those are the type of things that we install. We install them on a computer. We can actually make a computer be a form of communication. Where if they have a headset and they can plug it into a computer, they can now use their computer as a telephone. Or to actually do things like Skype or video. We install applications like that. Yes, ma'am?
You can use a Bluetooth.
You can use a Bluetooth. What is a Bluetooth?
A Bluetooth is like when you install it into your phone, and then you can you gotta hold your phone. You gotta talk into your phone, but you can hear the person out your ear. And it's a little earpiece.
So Bluetooth is a form of wireless communication. So most times when somebody's talking about a headset, they have a wire connected to it. So that's wired communication. Bluetooth, I'm sorry, what's your name? Kayla. Like Kayla was just describing, if I have a cell phone, or you can do it with a computer, if I have a cell phone, I can leave my cell phone in my pocket and I have a form of communication in my ear, Bluetooth, and that's wireless because there's no wire connected. That's another form of communication. Great suggestion. So that's what I do in terms of installing. is we go around, or I have resources, or I have people that work for me that go around to different businesses like Disney or like General Motors, and they install applications on PCs or on cell phones for people to communicate. All right, the last one. I don't know what time. The last one, connect devices. Give me some ideas. Give me some ideas. Connecting devices. What do you think? Jordan. In terms of the nature of my business, what do we do that in terms of connecting devices? Like in the nature of my business, so I install telephone systems.
Can you break it down?
Yeah, I'm about to make it down. So in terms of the nature of my business, I install telephone systems, and I have to go out to businesses like Disney or to General Motors, and I have to connect devices. What do you think that means when I have to connect devices? Yes, ma'am.
For example, when you connect devices, you have to, is it like when you connect something into your computer?
That is one form. You got your hand up?
When you can connect phones to your iPad. Like, you said that to your iPad, you can talk to your phone or use your iPad.
That would actually go, that would probably fall under install.
What you just said, like, when you talk on your cell phone and you can do something like you call it from your work.
That could be a form of connecting devices. So when I say connecting devices, I actually have to go and find a way to make this phone have dial tone. So I have to actually go to, so if I was to pull that phone off the wall, there's a wire coming off the back of that phone, and I have to connect that wire. Now what you don't see is, on the back of this wall, there's a lot more wires going to probably what they call a telephone closet. And in that telephone closet, it's probably a wall this long that has wires all along that wall going to a big circle, what they call a PBX, or a telephone switch. And that telephone switch is where I actually programmed to say, that phone can work on this extension, 112A. So when I go out to businesses like General Motors, I have to figure out what this jack number is. Sorry, somebody asked a question? I have to figure out, one, what this jack number is. And I have to go back to a telephone closet that has a wall with wires, and I have to connect that jack number to another device, which is the telephone switch. So when somebody picks up that phone, it now has dial tone. So that's what I do to connect devices. Yes, sir.
Do the wires go all around the school?
Yeah, anywhere you see, anywhere you see a phone, there's probably a wire that goes back to a telephone. And it's just where you see a phone, wherever you see a telephone. Or if we want to see where this computer is.
Thank you.
The computer has a jack, what they call a data port, and that data port has a wire that goes in back to a telephone. And that's what my business does as well. We go back and we connect from the wall back to the telephone room, so that device that's on the wall can now function. Okay? All right, so let's move down to, unless anyone has any questions on the nature of my business. All right, significance of my business. Give me some ideas. Some ideas of what you want me to talk about. Yes, sir. I don't create telephone systems by installing them. Good idea. The significance, the importance of my business. Yes, sir.
Always make sure that everything is properly and like checking your stuff twice.
Check twice.
Order.
I call it quality control. Yes, ma'am.
Make sure that the wires and bent or broken before you use it, and like if you put it in, and the phone doesn't work, you have to take it out, and then if you don't have no another wire, then it's broken.
That's a good suggestion, but that would fall under quality control as well. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Like if someone calls you, they can talk to a representative.
What can we qualify that as? How can we actually put that into a word? Let me think about that. I'll come back to you. Someone else have an idea? Yes, ma'am.
Make sure you have the right wires.
Make sure I have
The right wires.
right wires. That will fall under quality control. Or actually, I'm going to put quality control. What'd you say again?
Like, so basically,
We'll table that. I don't know how to put that into a word. But we'll start with these two. Quality control. So that is a portion of my business. That's actually what I do. I'm responsible. My title is actually, I'm the Director of Advanced Applications. So what I actually do, I'm responsible for resources that go out in the field and they install these various devices or forms of communications. And part of my job is to make sure that we have a quality control process or we have a procedure for everything that we do. So for example, if I have a guy or a technician that's going out and installing a telephone system or installing a telephone, I have to make sure he has all the tools to be successful. So I have to give him a kit or a toolbox to be able to go and punch in it, or not punch in it, hang a telephone on the wall, so he may need a screwdriver to run the wire, so he may need a ladder, he may have to get up to the ceiling. That's my responsibility, to make sure that every resource or every employee that's employed by me has all the tools that they need to perform their job. And I have to create policies and procedures to be able to do that for them. So if they're going out and installing the IVR system that we talked about that we installed for Disney, I have to make sure they have the intelligence, the intelligence to be able to do that, so they have to be able to write a program, because it's not just create a voicemail and send it out. There's actually the work behind it is a program that we actually write to actually say, call this number and leave this voicemail or send this voicemail. So I have to write a procedure for them to be able to do that. That's the significance of my job as a director. I have to be able to write those policies and procedures, so that means I have to have an understanding of all these forms of communication to be able to do that. Okay? I want to get down to the bottom, so I don't want to run out of time. So this is where the fun begins. Qualifications of my business. Give me some qualifications that you think I have to be in the business that I'm in.
You probably have to graduate from college.
All right. And some new hands. Yes, sir.
probably a degree in technology.
What do you do for You say in technology?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You have to want to learn technology.
Okay, last three. Yes, ma'am.
You have to know something about technology.
Have to be good at like reading.
That's one.
Have to be able to remember things.
All great points. We probably can go on for days. So just give a little bit more background, and I like this. I like the ideas. So the qualifications. So just so you know, when I graduated from high school, I actually wanted to be a professional basketball player. But I learned very quickly that I had the talent to do that. Not the brilliance. So I had to find something that I enjoyed doing. And I always enjoyed playing on computers. When I grew up, we had an Apple IIe, which is now a Apple iMac or Apple iPad. But it was a little bit different back then. So I always played on a computer. And I went away to school to actually learn how to program computers. And my degree is actually in computer information science, which actually is programming. So how many people like playing video games? Those video games is it's an application or a code. Pretty much what's called, the application that we use to write video games is called C++ or C#. That's what I went to school for, was to write video games for the most part. I did that job for probably about 67 days. I sat behind a desk, almost like that, sat in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. I didn't like that. I'm sorry, say it again? No, I wasn't playing video, I was writing video games. But I did that for 8 hours a day. I sat at a desk. I had no interaction with anybody else. I sat behind the desk. I sat at a computer. I said, I did not like that. So I went out and found me, before I quit, I went out and found me another job where I was actually installing computers. I actually had to go to businesses and just install computers for that business. I said, hey, I actually like this, because now I get to interact with people. I get to understand what their needs are, and I actually get to interact with people every day. So from there, I actually started doing, going from installing computers to doing, I think I actually said it, to installing networks. So here, this computer, if I wanted to send an instant message, it's part of a network that goes back to what they call a server. So you have a PC, which is just an individual device, and you have a server. That's where all information is held. So I actually started doing networking. That's what I did in Columbus for 6 years. I did networking for a company called ShowNet. How many people are familiar with DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse? I actually worked for DSW in their corporate office, setting up their network. Then I said, I want to do something different. And my family was my immediate family. My mom and my sisters were living here, so I moved to Orlando, and I found a job in communications. And I had to have all these things came into play. So the first thing I had to do was I actually had to get certifications. So I got hired by Cross, and they had 3 certifications I had to get within 90 days, which was 3 months. And I had to educate myself. I had to go out and read on my own books that was probably anywhere between 8 and 1,200 pages long. Then I would actually go and take a test that was probably an hour and a half to 2 hours long for each certification. I had to do that within 3 months to keep my job. So it was a 3-month or a 90-day evaluation period. If I got those 3 certifications, then I would actually keep my job and I would start evolving into my company. So I don't have a degree in technology, which I have a degree in computer information science, but I don't have a degree in enterprise communications. It's all things that I learned because I had I think somebody said I have a love for technology. I like learning new things. And the thing about my field, pretty much like every other field, as you see, they have different devices that they come out with. So just to give you an idea, this phone actually came out in 2009, and they started developing this phone in 2010. Or this device, I should have said phone, this device in 2010. Now the beauty of my job is, we actually get to play with these phones or these devices before they actually go to market or go to businesses like this. So the particular company called Avaya, they come to my business and they say, hey, we have an idea that we want to put on the market. Will you all test it for us and let us know what you think? So now, again, I have to have a love for technology. I have to be good with my hands. I have to be able to go through and play with this device and go back to Avaya and say, hey, it's great that it does email, but it'd be nice if it did video as well. And I have to give them ideas. So I have to be able to think. I have to be able to memorize, like somebody says. I have to be able to read. So they actually have a manual that comes with this. That comes with this device. I have to be able to read that manual, set up the device. So those are all things that you have to be able to do We're talking about my particular profession. Yes, sir.
Every time you make a new idea, do they have to remake the device?
It depends. It depends on what the idea is. If it's something that they can fit into that particular device, then yes, they don't have to make a new device. Or if they do, then they'll table it for the next generation of that particular device. Like for example, the iPhone. It started off the first generation, then it went to the second generation. And you had the iPhone 3G, iPhone 3GS, and iPhone 4G. So every time you have a new generation of that particular device, they've come up with a better idea, and they will actually want to be able to put that on a better generation. All right? Any other questions? Guys died out on me. Yes, sir.
Say if you want to, like, from your house to your company, but you want the two phones not to be separate. Do you have to, like, make, I get a very long cord and put it in the wall, or like?
They would have to be separate. You're talking about two different devices. So if I have a home phone, I can have it talk or interact with a business phone, but I can't make it be on the same, if you will, the same network. These two can't be on the same network. It's two different forms of technology. Remember, you have a single line device here, and then you have a PBX or a switch here that's powering these phones. Okay? Any other questions? Did I bore you all? You all just got tired.
When you say you can make your work phone ring, that's in your device. That your work phone.
You mean ring my cell phone?
Your cell phone and your work phone are on the same system.
No, they're on two different systems. So this is my personal cell phone. However, I have an application that I installed on my cell phone that makes it look like my work phone.
Oh, it's looking like, but it's not actually.
It's not actually my work phone. That was asking. So that application makes it look like it's my desk phone. But this is still a cell phone. So when I actually if I was actually called from this application, I would then be placing that call as if I were sitting at my desk making that call. But I'm still using my cell phone minutes.
But the person sees it as though you were at
The telephone number that the person I'm calling, they actually see my work phone number is. But it's an application that's installed on my cell phone. Yes, ma'am.
So, like, if you was to, like, be at home or, like, somewhere that wasn't, like, at your job and you needed to make a work call, like a work-related call, then you would just use that application?
I would use that application. Yes. So if I was doing work and I wanted them to have my work number, then I would use this application. But if I was just calling my mom, then I would just go back to the iPhone and place that call from my iPhone. Great observation.
Is the iPhone the only phone that you can use those apps on?
No, you can use the app on any smart device. So if you have like a BlackBerry, you have an Android, you can use the same app on those type of phones.
I said I have a phone. You can use it on the phone.
If it's a new generation phone, yes. The first generations, they did not make the applications for that. And we actually have people at my job that actually write these different apps. And actually, we actually just entered into an exclusive contract where we're the only company that works with the makers of this phone, and we're going to start writing applications for devices like this. We're the only company in North America that's actually going to be doing that.
Does it have a USB port on that?
Yes, it does have a USB port on the side. The audio jacks, so you can use it just like, it's almost like an iPad. It's pretty much just like an iPad, but it's just for business use.
Cost comparison between the iPad and that?
This particular device is, if I'm not mistaken, it's almost $4,000 for just one. An iPad is anywhere between $400 and $800. So yeah, that's the difference between a business. So a business like Disney, that's making billions of dollars every year, they can afford to buy hundreds of these at that price point.
Y'all do like the Kindle stuff?
No, we don't do anything with Kindle. Because Kindle doesn't have the technology to actually be able to, if you will, do these things. You can just pretty much just read them.
Like, don't you have to buy the book?
You have to buy the books from somewhere like Amazon, I think, and then it downloads to that particular device, and then you can actually read the book. Yes, ma'am.
Do y'all work with Sony?
Sony? No, Sony doesn't do telephone systems. So there's 3 major companies that does telephone systems today, and then there's one that's trying to come into the market. So you have Avaya, which is for our wiser people in the room. It's from Bell South, Lucent Technologies. That's where Avaya actually birthed from, if you will. And you have Cisco and a company called Nortel, which actually just got bought by Avaya. And then how many people know who Microsoft is? So Microsoft used to be known for what they did in the data world in terms of computers and applications for computers. They're now trying to come into what we call the voice market and create a telephone system. And they're actually very successful. Surprising. Yes, ma'am.
How does Google Voice fit in that?
That's a good question. We don't do too much with Google Voice because Google Voice is really geared towards residential.
Okay.
They have one enterprise communication application which is called, what is it called? So Google Talk is what they use, is what you can use to talk for voice communication via the internet. And I forget the name of the enterprise communication application. They do have one application that they're developing for businesses, but for the most part, all of their applications are geared towards the residential. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Say that one more time. That was our phone that.
It's like video telephone. That was like.
This one unfortunately doesn't do video, but this one does.
It looks like that will have you install a phone like that.
That just does video?
It's like that one, but.
Are you saying this phone actually exists? Or you actually? Yeah, I haven't installed it. Do you know the name of the phone? No? Yes, ma'am.
She got a touchscreen phone just like yours, but just a little longer. And she can video chat with hers. It's like a little box where you can see yourself and see it, and then you see the other person, and the other person can see you, and you just talk on the phone.
Is she using Skype? And if you all don't know, Skype just came out, or they just introduced a way to actually now to do group chat. Group chat. You gotta pay for it. Never heard of it.
OOVOO.
OOVOO.
I think you put it on like a computer, like a webcam, and then like it be you like a big box, and then somebody else will do that, like you and somebody else.
Is Google free?
Partner with them.
Is it free?
They have versions of it that they have the primary version of Ubu is free. You can chat with up to 3 people on the free version, and then they have versions that you can purchase as well.
To do more video conferencing with people.
Yeah.
I partnered with them about 2 years ago. What's the difference between the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 3G? So when they say 3G and 4G, that's the technology in which so they have cell phone towers, and the cell phone towers, they upgrade them every day. So the 3G is pretty much the speed. 3 gigahertz, 4 gigahertz. That's the speed in which you can talk. And when you upgrade that technology, it allows you to do more things. So when you're on 3G, you can't necessarily do video. You can, but it's not the best quality. So when you go to 4G, it allows you to have better quality video. So that's the primary difference between the different technologies. It gives you more features, more feature functionality. All right, last question. And she's walking up.
When I was my mom was it said that on the phone, they'll text us. Who you were talking to, it was texting.
Yeah, that's I forget the name of the company, but that's a device that they actually put around their neck. And sometimes they can actually install in a person's heart, like a heart monitor. And that technology now.
Life alert.
Life alert. Thank you. And that technology pretty much monitors your heart, monitors your heart rate. And if there's no longer a rate there, then it actually can send a text to whoever's watching that particular person. That is technology that is out there.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to come out, and we're going to say what voice? Thank you.